Assalamualaikum and salam sejahtera. We are from Group 6, Chapter Death and Dying. Our title is Developmental Understanding of Death and Grief Among Children During COVID-19 Pandemic. Our agenda is Theme, Introduction, Theories related to the issue, Factors, Effects, Recommendation and Conclusion. Meet the team member ARZIAH, NORASIKIM, NURHANI, ADILAH LIYANA and Muhammad FITRI HIDAYAT.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm NORASIKIM binti Muhammad YUNAN. Now I will present about death and dying. Death meaning at the end of your own life or your loved one. Death will be determined based on functional death and brain death. Functional death meaning person that the heartbeat and breathing was stopped. Moreover, brain death meaning identification of death based on the results of all sign brain activity will stop functioning. Death occur at different stages of the lifespan, such as death in infancy in childhood, death in childhood, death in adolescence, death in young adulthood, death in middle adulthood, and death in late adulthood. Death in infancy occur because of the prenatal death or miscarriage, sudden infant death syndrome (SIDS), which means cause of death unknown. During childhood, cause of death because of the accidents due to motor vehicle crash, fires, drowning, and homicide victim. Understanding of death during childhood are different based on their age, education, and experience. Moreover, death in an adolescent because of the accident, mostly involving in motor vehicle accident and due to an illness. Furthermore, death in young adulthood occur of the reason due to accident, suicide, homicides, and an illness such as AIDS and cancer. Other than that, death in middle adulthood because of the heart attack or stroke and disease such as cancer. Lastly, death in late adulthood occur because of the cancer, stroke, and heart disease. Suicide is also occurring because of the depression or dementia and loss of a spouse. Death also happen in this category because of the depression that will lead to suicide because of thought that they will burden to their family and society. Based on the general developmental understanding of death and grief among children during COVID-19 pandemic. In this journal is application of Bro-Fembrenner biological model that will lead cause factor affecting to the process of death and grief process among children, such as in microsystem, occur in home environment, parental anxiety, parental emotional grief reaction, and parental education. A mesosystem occur in peer conversation, teachers' communication, patterns of communication, and support families' value and parenting practice protecting the child. In macrosystem occur in responsible journalism, cultural belief, conspiracy theories, and funeral practice. In a whole system occur in isolation, contact restriction, economic shutdown, limited out of home leisure care, the activities, and limited access to healthcare, income loss. In chronosystem occur in COVID-19 pandemic, travel ban, and changing policy. And also occur in individual characteristic occur in factor age, gender, temperament, and resilience, development stage such as cognitive, physical, physiological, social, and spiritual, and death experience and trauma. Moreover, loss in their life is also factors that occur because of the death experience. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, more than 1.5 million children lost because of the death of their caregiver, like their parents or grandparents. Furthermore, this dying occurred to the children because of the effects or complications from the COVID-19 pandemic and also limited access of the health care and the medical service. Losing of their caregiver or parents and fear of death will lead children tends to be traumatic, fear, and anxiety. Understanding and response of death and grief from children are different based on their individual's developmental level of cognition, individual belief and experience, individual concern and dread. Moreover, when children were traumatic and anxiety, that will affect their psychology and emotion, and at the same time will affect their mental health. Effect of the mental health because of chronic health. To prevent children's mental health getting worse, people surrounding them must give psychosocial support and not neglecting them.
Hi, Assalamualaikum everyone dan salam sejahtera. Okay, my name is ADILAH ADLI and now it's my turn to discuss with you further about related theory in this article. Okay, based on the article chosen, it is clearly stated that this article use Yuri Bronfenbrenner's theory. So, siapa Yuri Bronfenbrenner ni? So, let me tell you about him a little bit more. Yuri Bronfenbrenner's theory is an American-Russian psychologist that was born on 29th April 1917, and he was mostly known for his ecological system theory. This theory point of view, it is stated that child development as a complex system of a relationship affected by various stages from its surrounding environment. Okay, in this theory, there are 5 different systems which included, the first one is microsystem, the second one is mesosystem, third one is exosystem, fourth one is macrosystem, and the final is chronosystem. Okay, let me go through with you let me go through deeper to you in each of the system. So the first one is macrosystem. It is determined as one of the system that gives the most impact directly to the children's development. Contohnya macam ibu bapa, kawan-kawan dan juga guru-guru di sekolah. Okay, the second one is mesosystem. It is the connection between the microsystem itself. Contohnya, good relationship between the parents and teachers could give a huge impact to the children's academic results. Okay, the third one is exosystem, which consists of the indirect connection between a child and the surrounding itself. So, contoh macam if the parents get promotion about the job offer yang memerlukan mereka untuk travel dengan lebih jauh, lebih kerap dan masa lebih terluangkan di office, dia macam mana dia sedikit sebanyak memberi impact yang besar kepada kanak-kanak lah. Okay, the fourth one is macrosystem. It is when cultural elements could affect a child's development. So, contohnya if the child live in poverty, contoh macam poverty child, contoh kanak-kanak yang hidup dalam kesusahan, tak sama cara dia dibesarkan, cara dia berfikir, cara dia membuat keputusan to compare with children yang hidup dalam keadaan senang. Okay, the final one is chronosystem. It is defined as changing circumstances in the environment that occurs over the lifetime. Contoh yang senang ialah macam parents divorce or ataupun seorang kanak-kanak yang dah lama hidup seorang, contoh dia anak tunggal selama 8 tahun ke, so one day dia dapat adik yang baru, so dia agak beri kesan walaupun mungkin sementara, tapi dia agak memberi kesan yang dalam jugalah. Okay, sama juga macam parents divorce, mungkin setahun dua akan beri kesan and nanti dia akan okay balik. Okay, so let's take a look on another related theory that we found in this article, which is the first one is terror management theory, and another one is mortality salience. Okay, the terror management theory proposed that death and anxiety drives human behavior. This theory showed that one's self-esteem and worldviews can provide protection against anxiety and death-related connection. This TMT clarifies how people defend themselves against the awareness of death, which is the mortality salience. Okay, the second one is mortality salience. It highlights the importance of innate belief systems that protect oneself from existential anxiety. So, people with low self-esteem tend to just receive and accept the existence of death to compare with people with high self-esteem. Maksudnya bila dengan orang yang high self-esteem ni, dia lebih kepada rasa macam there's no one or things that can stop them from and maksudnya macam tak ada siapa boleh tentukan bila dia mati ke, macam tu lah. Okay, during a threat to survival and prosperity, humans tend to displace towards the collectivistic mindset. These theories suggest that the fear of death urges people to declare their cultural beliefs at the expense of health-related safety. That's all from me. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is FITRI HIDAYAT bin AHMAD SHARIF. Today, I'm going to explain to you guys several factors that affect the child's understanding of death and grief process. Actually, there are three main factors that we can discuss here. The factor is developmental understanding of death. So what does it mean by developmental understanding of death? This is actually based on the theory of Jean Piaget, which they already explain us about the background of the cognitive development in the children. During the pre-operational stage, there is a predominance of magical thinking and egocentrically, which is it's harder for a child to understand the different aspect of the concept of death. Then, in the stage 2, between age of 5 to 9 years old, children begin to comprehend the finality of death but believe that it happens only to other people. And the last stage, which is after age 10, the cause of death can be understood and death is perceived as a final, inevitable and associated with the cessation of bodily activities. The second factor are death-related emotional response. So what does it mean by death-related emotional response? Is actually to simplify the impression of kids when they face the situation of death and dying. Children need particular help in dealing with death, including honesty, encouragement of expression of grief, reassurance that the death was not due to the child behavior, and understanding that the child grief may be delayed and indirect. Meanwhile, uncertainty, fear and worry are all emotional reaction to dying. These responses are influenced by an individual's understanding and appraisal of threat, metacognitive views, intolerance of uncertainty, cognitive bias towards bodily symptoms and external worries such as death and dying. Last but not least, death anxiety, death fear and death-related attitude are also factors that affect the child's understanding of death and grief process. This is because we would like to observe the children's attitudes toward the fear of death, the death anxiety and the death concern, which are phrases that are frequently used interchangeably when discussing loss. So what is fear actually? Fear is when there is a definite, recognizable sources such as fear of flying. The word fear is often preferred. The term death fear refers to relatively specific concern about loss and its management. For example, the likely death of parent in a tragic event such as an aeroplane crash, leaving a young child or children to be cared for by other adults. Meanwhile, acceptance of death is represented by several attitudes. There are three attitudes that we can discuss here. The first one is a neutral acceptance, which occurs when a person recognizes and depends death as an inevitable aspect of life. They are not terrified of death, but they also not looking forward to it. The second attitude is one of approach acceptance, in which a person views death as a gateway to a better afterlife. The attitude is strongly linked to the religiosity. Last acceptance is the third attitude, which is feeling accepted, which occurs when a person considers death as an escape from the misery of existence and thus as a desirable alternative to life. That's all from me. Thank you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My name is NURHANI. Right now I'm going to explain a few things about things yang gonna affected the children in the context of grief and death during pandemic. There is a four aspect. The first one is mental. early of pandemic, children are exposed to the phenomenon of grief and death. At that moment, they are still young. Diorang masih lagi tak belajar about coping skill. They still haven't learned about how to express their feeling, especially when they lose their loved one. Second one is sudden parent death. This thing actually can affect greatly to their mental health, especially if they closer to the one that passed away. This is because they doesn't have anyone they can depend on. They doesn't have anyone they can lean on actually. So diorang ada maknanya diorang je lah yang diorang boleh depends. So this thing also can arise a confusion and fear to their children because they maybe at that moment they doesn't know how important ataupun diorang tak exposed to the how dangerous the situation is. Tahu-tahu je tiba-tiba one of the mak ataupun ayah diorang dah meninggal dunia. So it can affect greatly to diorang punya diri lah. And the third one, discrimination. The first place yang detected this virus is from China, is from Asia lah. It's from Asia lah. So because of this thing, there's a few of our children that still experience racial discrimination because kononnya because of the conspiracy theory of the virus that kononnya man-made lah daripada Asia. And the last one is children impacted because of the family when the family member died of from the COVID-19, the prolonged and unresolved grief from the adult will affect to the children, and they started to question why their family member died and how their family member died, and they started to question about how their death. So it will increase their anxiety at that moment. The second one is environment. The first one is the existing, whether they lose their family or not, the existing family is important. The existing family system is important to compromise due to the changes of the routine. So because of the pandemic, because of the lockdown, most of the thing is being done online, right? So because of that, there is changes of routine. Selalunya kita pergi kerja, tapi ni kita kerja kat rumah. Selalunya diorang pergi sekolah, tapi yang ni diorang sekolah online kat rumah. So because of those changes of routine, it can be quite exhausting sometimes. And this is the part that it needed the family support. The second one is the economy. Because of the pandemic also, there is most of the people is either work from home ataupun they lose their job. And because they lose their job, it can lead to the family that cannot meet their basic needs. So sometimes maybe children's tu tak cukup makanan, so it can lead to the tak cukup nutrition, and then it can lead so on to the dia tak cukup, dia akan effect kepada health dia lah. So dia akan berkait-kait lah macam tu. And the third one is health. Waktu first pandemic dulu, early of pandemic, most of the place is locked down. So children, most of them ada annual check-up. Diorang ada annual check-up untuk tahu diorang punya progress, untuk tahu situasi diorang. So because of that, they have sebabkan beberapa tempat tutup, so they have a limited access. Tapi bila dah buka balik and diorang boleh pergi mengikut SOP yang dibenarkan, still they have a worry about that because diorang risau kalau macam they get infected when they visit the health service. The second one is disadvantage. Disadvantage ni more to the children that have a poor background. So diorang macam tak dapat enough health care lah. So kesian lah waktu pandemik, macam tak ada orang nak tengokkan diorang. So diorang tak terjaga lah diorang punya kesihatan. And the last one is skill development. No coping outlet for children because the lockdown reduced the opportunities for children to participate. The second one is cannot develop. So waktu lockdown, they cannot develop social skill because they cannot develop social skill on a holiday, sebab selalunya macam holiday is a crucial day lah untuk children develop ataupun experience social skill yang baru lah macam tu. Sebabnya waktu tu diorang jumpa dengan cousin diorang jumpa with their family, with their friends, so they have a talk, they have a lot of interaction. So from them diorang akan learn new thing ataupun develop a new social skill. So because of the pandemic and because of the lockdown, they cannot develop social skill macam tu. So there's actually a lot of things yang akan affected kepada children sebenarnya, and most of us adults rasa macam children is not gonna affected from the all this thing, pandemic, the death and the grief, because kita rasa macam yelah, budak-budak memang tak rasa apa kan, tapi sebenarnya children is much more affected than adult. They affected as much as adult. Macam tu lah sebenarnya. So sekian itu saja daripada saya. Terima kasih.
You know better than anyone how your child's life has been impacted by COVID-19. And although kids are remarkably resilient, many are struggling to adjust to the changes. This is only natural. The routines that once gave them a sense of control have been erased. Their classrooms have become computer screens. Their friendships put on pause. It's understandable they might feel irritable, frustrated, or sad sometimes. Loneliness, confusion, and anxiety are also common. But as a parent, how do you know if your child's emotions are a normal reaction to an abnormal situation, or if what you're seeing are signs of more significant mental health challenges? At the Society of Clinical Child and Adolescent Psychology, we have tips and resources to help you identify and address your child's mental health needs, including free, confidential mental health assessments and information about how to find professional help. If you're concerned your child is experiencing severe sadness, anger, or maybe even depression, ask yourself these questions. Is your child no longer interested in doing things they once enjoyed? Have their eating and sleeping habits changed? Are they having trouble finishing tasks they used to find easy? Have they talked about wishing they were no longer alive? Changes such as these could be signs your child needs help from an adolescent mental health professional. During the coronavirus pandemic, many mental health professionals are offering online support. This means safe, convenient treatment options are available regardless of where you live.
Recommendation in communication. Support from a reputable spiritual leader, a therapist, or grieving support group can help people feel more connected to others. Storybook can assist children understand how to communicate about death and sadness. For a push purpose for caregiver, acknowledge, discuss, do, and reflect. Recommendation for school. School-based treatment that are adaptable and representative are needed to improve children's understanding of loss and address misconceptions about death and grieving. School and teachers should strive to provide information about death, provide appropriate vocabulary, present diverse cultural perspective, and allow for the elaboration of eventual loss and offer grief management support. Recommendation for healthcare professional. During clinical contact, children's perspective on death should be considered. They can assist children in reworking their perception of death as they grow older. Understanding the loss linked with death, expressing feeling and emotional reaction, and learning to integrate the loss into one life are the major objectives for grieving children. Conclusion. A bioecological viewpoint can help us understand the distinction in how children and adult perception of death are influenced or impacted by their setting. Different children react by their surroundings differently. As a result, adults must resist having preconceived notion about how a child should respond to a circumstance throughout time. Children and adolescents who have been bereaved may lack the necessary coping skill to manage their grief constructively. Naming and validating these responses a separate facet of a grieving process and providing a safe space for them to express their feeling are a critical component of a child grief and loss coping. That's all for Group 6. Thank you.